You're going to start to pat it into a nice round ball. It won't have to be perfect, and you want to use a rounded hand to do that. And this ball of clay is just slightly smaller than this 8-ball, fine. If it's the same size, fine. If it gets a lot bigger than this, that's going to get a little clunky with the size. So anytime you see kind of a part sticking up, just, and that's going to be just fine right there. Remember Maria's pokey? There's a bag of newspaper here, and we'll all put some on the table. You're going to just take a little piece of newspaper. We make a paper pokey. Okay, don't make a paper pokey. Make a paper, like smaller than your cell phone. Okay, you'll see why in a minute. Okay, pinch pot, and you saw, and there's some diagrams up on the board. Thank you. So you see some little diagrams up there. Okay, that's what I'm going to kind of go through, and I'll point to some of those diagrams. So, just like you're a little kid eating olives, you're going to put your thumb right down the middle, and you don't want to go too deep. This clay under my thumb is it's at least ½ an inch thick or so, and I use a lot of body parts for thicknesses. If it was about as thick as your thumb under there, that's totally fine. If you start to feel your thumb poking into here, you went way too far, so try not to go that far. Now on the inside, I'm going to be doing some pinching with my thumb and my fingertips, and you want to rotate it in little bits, little steps of rotation. And I'm kind of like that diagram, opening up the inside. You can't really see it, that's why we have a cutaway diagram there. So I'm kind of opening up the inside. Now you don't want to go like this. Okay, because with small increments of movement, you're going to keep the thickness of the clay more consistent, and that's what you want. Okay. Now I'm going to, as I turn it, I'm going to spiral my hands, my fingertips, and my thumb on the inside toward the rim. And again, I don't use my fingertips. I use kind of the flat part of my fingers here to do the pinching. And you have to pinch kind of firm, but kind of soft. You can easily pinch through the clay if you wanted to. So you have to just make a little bit of change at a time. And we start to open up the inside. Now, we're going to use our little paper pokey, put it down, make sure your hands stay not slippery wet, but just, you don't want a bunch of that clay dust absorbing the moisture out of the clay. Now, only your thumbs go on the inside. If you start to put your fingers on the inside, you stretch the clay too much, and it's not elastic. It does not go back to where it was. So, now, and you can stand up to do this if you want, I'm basically doing the same thing. I'm slowly rotating up toward the rim, and as I come up toward the rim, I am letting the clay open up a little bit, gradually. Okay, and then you go back down to the bottom and kind of work your way back up toward the top and pushing out a little bit at a time on the top. Okay, you don't push it out, let it happen kind of gradually. I'm going for, again, that even thickness to the wall. And the thickness of the wall might be about as thick as your finger. Okay, if it gets really thick, it won't dry very well, and you have a ton of stuff to carve off later. Now this is like almost done. So you can see on the inside, it's looking kind of round like a dome. So that some people accidentally will make the very bottom real wide and flat. So if you see that starting to happen, kind of ease off on the pressure. And what I like to do on the inside now is go ahead and take my thumb and kind of sweep up in this curving, kind of arcing feel. And you can do that with both hands at the same time. So we're trying to make the inside nice and kind of like a dome on the inside. It will make the outside look like that dome too tomorrow when we start to shave things off. But the outside might have a little bit of lumpy, bumpy quality. That's normal. We're going to shave that off tomorrow. That's another demo. The rim, many times, is kind of uneven. That's totally okay, and that's totally normal. On the table up here, there are a couple little containers of paper clips. Here's the way you can address trimming off the rim. If you take your right hand, or left hand, doesn't matter, whatever one is your stronger one, you want to hold this paper clip so it's not sticking way out. That's way too flexible. Okay, you want to hold it so just a little bit is sticking out. I'm going to hold my hand nice and steady, and I'm going to trim off sometimes, a half an inch or so. So I'm going to hold this hand really steady, and as I rotate, hopefully, I'm just going to go about halfway through the clay the first time around. And this will create a rim that's fairly even, and hopefully my line is going to match right up, and it does. Now I can push all the way through. If you go all the way through first time, it kind of bends the clay and it gets all wonky. So now as I rotate around, I want to try to stay right in that line as I go around. And when you make your way all the way around, we're just going to lift this rim off. I think I made it all the way. Oh, yep. Okay, that can just come off. That is about all you can do. Now this clay right here must go, it's still good clay. Put it right back into your bag. We call that naked clay. We assume that the clay is shy, and you wouldn't want to walk around naked, so neither does the clay, right? So you will have a kind of a flat bottom. That's normal. We'll get rid of that tomorrow. So that's what that's for. Don't now try to fix everything. The clay is too soft. We want this clay to get have a firmness to it to be able to do some shaving and detail work. So that's all there is. A lot of them will be about this size. Some might be slightly smaller or slightly bigger. It's okay. That inside curve is going to be important because we're going to try to match that curve on the outside. Then you get, like you see a lot of these samples, with that nice round dome quality. Now, to store this overnight, we need to grab a couple of these half sheets. These are not full sheets of newspaper. And the fact that paper is there still, it's fine. Sometimes the ink from the newspaper gets onto the clay. Doesn't matter, it's going to come right off. So we're just going to wrap this like a gentle little gift. And maybe do it, and you want to try not to wreck the shape, because we want it to dry in very much that shape. We're going to try to wrap it up so it's really covered. And if I were you, see how it's all wrapped on the top? Flip it over so it stays wrapped, and then that can slide into your locker. We want it to dry up a little bit. The newspaper will soak up some of the water, but it'll also keep it from drying too much. Okay? So if you're going to be here tomorrow, this is fine. If you know you're not going to be here tomorrow, let me know, because we'll do this plus put it in a plastic bag. Okay. So again, I'm going to ask. So that's all there is to that.